Hey, this is Certified Health Coach Susan Zartman, and it is April the 24th of 2017, and we're continuing going through Dr. A's Habits of Health. And tonight, it's Chapter 4, Health is All About Choice. And thanks for joining me. And if you didn't catch last week's on Chapter 3, that's a really good foundational chapter, and I'd encourage you to go back and to listen to that one first. But anyway, this one's about preparing for our journey and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are the inalienable rights that our forefathers determined to be a fundamental choice. To create optimal health, you need to make the fundamental choice to be healthy. So are you choosing to be healthy? And is that your driving force? And what's going to make all of your decisions here? Because the fundamental choice is the choice upon which all other choices rest. So as a Christian, I believe firmly in the Bible, and the things that the Bible say, those things are non-negotiable. And when it comes to optimal health, it's kind of the same way, where there's a little bit more flux than maybe what the Bible has and what God has to say, but we're still making choices that will be in alignment with what's going to get us to achieving those goals. Is there anything in life more important than health? When people realize that they are dangerously ill, the answer to that question becomes clear. Anyway, this is Dr. A's Habits of Health book, and we're currently on page 28. And again, talking about fundamental choice. And fundamental choice is what defines our state of being. It's where we stand. Once you make the choice to be healthy, you've made it your business to act in accordance with your goal. You are taking full responsibility for your actions rather than letting the circumstances drive your decisions. You become this author of your own life story. So you're choosing to make healthy. Some of you are on the 5-in-1 plan. Maybe some of you are on different stages of your journey. But hey, you go to a restaurant and they're offering you a free piece of pie. What are you going to say? You know, is that going to get you where you want to be? It all comes down to choices. And sometimes it's okay. You may say yes. Not so much if you want to keep losing the weight, because it's going to slow you down. But that's okay too. You always have the choice. It's like putting it through that screen and stopping so you have time to analyze it. And it's important that you accept the fact that no one can do it for you. Others can help with their advice, good wishes, guidance, experience, medical insight, and understanding of human patterns and motivation. But it will always come down to you. If you're thinking, I'll do my best, but it's really someone else's job to see that it works, then you haven't made this fundamental choice. Most of us have been raised to react to circumstances. We haven't been taught to believe that we can adopt a fundamental self-generated resolve. But in fact, this is how we take charge of our lives, by realizing that no matter the circumstances, no matter the temptation, we can do what we know is right, because we've taken a stand for the choices that we hold most important. So ask yourself, do I want to be optimally healthy? Notice he didn't say, is it possible to be optimally healthy? Most likely, do you want to be optimally healthy? Probably your answer is going to be yes. That's why most of you are pursuing and trying to learn more. There's a health crisis, and a teachable moment comes to a health crisis. According to a study by the National Control Registry, a database of individuals who have lost 30 pounds or more and kept it off for at least 1 year, people who suffer a heart attack, stroke, or other serious medical crisis find themselves more committed to weight loss as a result. In addition, people with these sorts of medical triggers reported greater weight loss and less weight regain. The upshot? A medical event may provide a teachable moment for weight control. But the downside is, who wants to go through one of those medical events? If you haven't already found yourself in one of those crisis times, we don't want to ever have to go through those. So the goal is to be healthy, and sometimes it happens when you are healthy, but at least our choice is kind of staying away from there. Then Dr. A says, let's think about it for a moment. Is there anything else in your life as important as your health? As you ponder that question, let me give you a little perspective. As you know, for 20 years, I served as director of surgical intensive care at a large teaching hospital. The patients I managed would very likely have died without the intense interventional care we provided, the full gamut of Star Wars medical technology, invasive monitoring, potent intravenous medications, and sophisticated nutritional intervention. These vulnerable patients came from all walks of life, some young, some old, but they all knew that at any moment they could die. They shared a universal realization that changed them profoundly, that right now, surviving and getting healthy was all that mattered. It was more important to the millionaire than his portfolio. It was more important to the executive than his job promotion. It was more important to the teenager than the new car he just wrecked. Reality can be so enlightening. So healthcare deserves to be right up there alongside freedom and the pursuit of happiness as our most prized possessions. And Dr. Ray lists a bunch of things that he wants to be doing with his family, including going skiing and seeing his daughters grow up and be active with them and get married and see his grandchildren, which doesn't have any yet, go to school. And those are all things that drive his choices on a day-to-day basis. So anyway, the primary choices for optimal health. Last week, we talked about the fundamental foundational choices, and we discovered that the foundational choice, let me say how these, I said that right, is motivated by what you really want. And we want to be motivated on what we want, focusing on what we want and not on the things that we don't want. So it's a positive. So it's not that I don't want to be fat, but it's that I want to be lean and healthy. And those positive images, they are much more effective for keeping the long-term changes happening. And those fundamental choices is optimal health. The primary choice is like the little different steps along the way that are here so that, let's see here. See, I need some of you guys on here with me to help a conversation going. You always have such good insights to add as well. But anyway, optimal health isn't a destination, but it's a state of being that you achieve. A change in orientation whereby you create a new state of being that revolves around making the daily choices that support health. So last week we learned to think about what you really want out of life and to use that motivation to adopt behaviors that support your health goals. And then some of the foundations of health would include healthy eating, including the vitamin nutrient support, having a healthy weight and a normal waist size, an active lifestyle, including a daily activity program, a walking program, strength conditioning, flexibility and agility, recuperative sleep, relaxation, a microenvironment of health, well-being that includes social activities, limited stress, a sense of purpose in eating, a spiritual health and a personal fulfillment, and a support system. So anyway, just you need to take time and think, what is it that you really want if you're going for optimal health? What are those primary choices that are going to make that a reality? And if you look through each of those categories, that's on page 30 of the book. And then also in the Living a Longer, Healthier Lifestyle Workbook, there are some great charts, and he asks a lot of good questions, and he's got some things just to fill out. Questions that we don't tend to ask ourselves. We kind of go through life and just kind of do our do, and whatever happens, happens. But trying to get more intentional and thinking about our health. I think we mentioned last week, a lot of us spend a lot more time planning for our vacation than we do for our life. I know I've been guilty of that. So when you just form a mental picture of one of the foundational components, and ask yourself, is this the result I really want to create? If it's yes, that's great. If no, you just need to refine your definition and quantify your goals. Be specific and include a time frame. For example, I will have great aerobic stability in 12 months. And avoid comparative terms. So if you wrote, I will have better health, rewrite your goal to say, I will have very good health. Make sure you're focused on creating health and not solving a problem. For example, if you wrote, I will stop being so short of breath when I walk, rewrite your goal to say, I am walking for half an hour every day, and I'm able to talk to my dog the whole time. Make sure you're describing an actual result, not a process. And we'll talk more about the process when we discuss the secondary choices. So instead of saying, I will lift weights 3 days a week, rewrite your goal to say, I have a lean, toned body. So anyway, describe your current health reality. And actually next week, we're going to be going over chapter 5. And I encourage you to get a running start on that one. This one has a really good health questionnaire, and it's a really good assessment, and it will give you a big picture. Some of you did the well-being evaluation, and that's kind of a Cliff Notes version, kind of gives you a good overview, but this health system is very detailed, and I think it might be available online too. So if that's the case, when I send out the email with this link, I will include that link for you. But if we don't know where a current reality is, we don't know where we want to go and where we need to improve, and then we can't really measure along the way how we're doing and the progress that we're making. So that's why it's important to know where it is and the rest of our lives. Remembering we want to know our current reality. Don't avoid the scale. And the scale is just one measurement. It's not the tell-all, but it is one thing that helps us to know, how what we're doing is affecting our bodies and our lives. And then he talks on page 31 about creating a structural tension chart. So take a deep breath. Hold it. Can you feel the stress and the tension? You want to let it out and you want to breathe again. So that's a little bit of what the tension and structural tension we're going. It's kind of pull on a rubber band. We know our current reality. Our current reality is nice and comfortable, but we want to be up here. So there's that stretching of the band, and we want to figure out how do we get from here to here. And a simple structural tension chart for each of the foundational components can be an important tool in your progress. These charts aren't difficult to make. They give you a direct visual way to compare your current reality to your desired goals. And the relationship between where you are now and where you want to be creates a dynamic tension that serves as a powerful motivator as you work toward your goals. A year ago in December, I told my sister one of my little kind of bucket list things was I wanted to walk a 5K. I was the girl that would pull up to a shopping mall and then get out of my car because it hurt too bad to go in when I started this program. So I didn't know if I could even do a 5K. So my sister signs us up for a 10K. Wow, I didn't think I'd ever make that. But luckily it wasn't until the following September. So I thought, well, we'll see what happens. So in April or May of last year, I signed up and walked my first 5K. Yes, I was the last person that came in that entire race. Of course, I think I was one of the only people that actually walked the 5K. Everyone else walking just did a 1 mile. But anyway, most anticlimactic ending ever. They were already packing up everything, and there was like nobody hardly there. It's kind of funny. But anyway, but I finished it, and I was actually under an hour, and I thought that was pretty doggone good. And the next one, I walked out to with Lori, and she was very patient and kind and kept her pace down with me, and if there wasn't a guy with a cane, we might have been last on that one too. But hey, we finished. She would have been a lot quicker. But anyway, it's all about finishing. So those are the first couple, and then I did another one, and it was a little bit better, and then I just kept building up throughout the summer, but I created a structural tension chart. So when I started, I knew at that point I was kind of walking about a half an hour on my lunch hours and how far that was, and I knew how much farther, and I put little tick marks along the way there of how much further I needed to go, and so I could be comfortable. And so like about the week or so before we were doing the 10K, I was walking about 4.5 miles, and a 10K is 6.4 miles. But I figured if I could go 4.5 miles and not collapse, probably a couple more miles wouldn't kill me at that point. So at least I had a little more confidence, although even going into the day of the race, I didn't 100% sure know. It would have been nice if I had a little bit more time in there, but it takes a while to do that. So anyway, in September, we did make it. So it was exciting, and I felt good afterwards, and we're going to do it again this coming year. So anyway, but those kind of things. So if you have a goal, maybe you want to do a 5K, start figuring out how much walking is feasible and how much you need to add to it every day so you can build yourself up and be ready to do one of those, because you could do it. Or maybe there's something else that you'd like to do. What is it something? Figure out something that you kind of want to do. Have something to shoot for. And it's good to be able to grow and to see those things accomplished. It's really very exciting. So anyway, that can be a health goal, or it could be something else. Let's see here. What else we got? And even you can do something for a 1-year goal. You could do something for a quarterly goal. Think now, here we're almost the end of April. So, hey, where do you want to be by the end of June? So give yourself a couple of months. And where is that? What is a realistic weight goal or a walking goal, or whatever else you want to do? Could you give yourself a countdown and know, hey, that there are 70 days between now and then, and you're committed to really doing the 5 and 1 and doing what it is, and not doing a bunch of tweaking and not making excuses for all this stuff, but knowing this is what I'm doing. And give yourself a shorter deadline and just see where it takes you, because it works. I know it does. So anyway, the structural tension chart, it identifies your current reality and then your goal for what you desire. And there's charts inside the Living a Longer, Healthier Life that can help you create this. Or a simple piece of paper will work. It doesn't take anything fancy. And then on page 32, he's talking about the secondary health choices. These are the daily choices and the small disciplines. They're the actions. So the action steps that support your primary choices are the day-to-day behaviors that over time, they build your path to ultimate health. They're not always fun, and we wouldn't necessarily choose to do these things if they weren't organized into our hierarchy of health. In other words, if we didn't recognize them as actions that support our higher goal of thriving, or of a higher goal of thriving health, we probably wouldn't do them. Let's say you decide to become a world-class violinist. What would you do every day? You'd practice, of course. Even if you came home from work tired and would rather grab a drink, sit on the sofa, kick off your shoes, and watch TV, you'd make the secondary choice to practice because it supports your primary choice, your goal of becoming a world-class violinist. And I love this story. Dr. A and his friend went to a golf course where pro golfer Jack Nicklaus was playing. And so it was one where he practiced there, and as Dr. A and his friend were warming up by hitting a few balls, they had the privilege of witnessing Jack Nicklaus and fellow pro golfer Greg Norman practicing hitting to a flag about 80 yards away. Although they were just getting started, the 3 dozen or so balls they'd hit so far were all within a couple feet of the pin. The tight grouping of balls on the rich carpet of grass was like an exclamation point, showcasing the skill of those top professional golfers. Mesmerized by their precision, Dr. A reluctantly left to tee off. As he hooked his drive into the sand trap and walked down the first fairway, he kept thinking how lucky those guys were to be so good. They proceeded to play the first 9, and he may have hit one shot out of 45. That was as good as any of Jack's. The day was hot, and Dr. A was thirsty, so he headed back to the water fountain by the practice range. Imagine his surprise when he discovered that Nicholas and Norman were still there and still hitting the same shot. And every one of those now hundreds of golf balls were within a few feet of the pin. They had just spent 2.5 hours in the summer heat practicing a shot they had already performed to perfection. Talk about making secondary choices that they support their primary choice to be the best golfer in history. These guys created perfection by spending years and years by making the secondary choices that would enable them to perform even under such intense pressure. So much for luck. Make no mistake, spending long hours practicing the violin or lobbing shots on a hot day, it isn't easy, but maybe, just maybe, it's a little easier when we know that we're supporting a goal we really want. And maybe that also applies to that 30-minute walk, the healthy low glycemic dinner, and going to bed at 10 p.m. instead of watching the late show. After all, being a great violinist or great golfer are pretty lofty choices, but they pale in comparison to your choice of optimal health. Without his health, I doubt even Nicholas would have achieved his goals. So let's start pinpointing those secondary choices, the habits of health you'll be learning step by step in the next few chapters and practicing for life. How do we determine whether our actions are likely to move us toward our goal? There's a whole checklist of questions on page 33, and you can also review the structural tension chart there on page 32. And just kind of go back, and if you take these steps, will you achieve your foundational goal? For example, if you lift weights once a month, will you reach your 12-month goal of 14% body fat and lean muscle mass? Probably just lifting it once a month and not probably likely. And then all your action steps, accurate, brief, and concise. Picture the action step and then write down in a couple sentences. For example, I will lift weights 3 days a week for 30 minutes. Does every action step have a due date? I will walk 10 minutes, 3 days a week for the next 2 weeks. And then there's a sample of the structural tension chart there. And again, this structural tension chart with the secondary choices identifies your current reality at the beginning of the program, your secondary choices are the action steps, and your 1-year goal for an active lifestyle. Mark Twain said, the only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. The secondary choices, daily, mundane activities, might seem insignificant in and of themselves. They might seem easy to do or not so easy to do. And as I mentioned before, given the choice, we'd usually prefer not to do them. It does seem in this day and age of instant gratification that most people are living in a world of impulse with no regard to the effect their choices have over time. But in fact, time is the great equalizer. Time is either on your side, helping you build and maintain a thriving, vibrant life, or it's slowly but insidiously draining your health bank account. So let's see. Remember from chapter 2, there was an executive who suffered a massive heart attack after eating wrong foods for years. By the way, that's what killed Mark Twain. Today's cheeseburger doesn't make a difference today, and neither will substituting a salad. That's just part of the problem. We live in a society that's focused on instant results. Flip the light switch, and thanks to technology, we get results now. That same mentality is what makes us believe medicines will make us healthy or reduce our fat. After all, in movies, Rocky gets in shape in just 2 hours. A part of us expects the same, but that's just not how it works in the real world. The process of creating health takes time. But in time, after taking those action steps day in and day out, you'll begin to enjoy optimal health. And through that feedback, you'll know that your real work is already done. You'll have taken control of your daily choices and beaten the negative consequences of today's unhealthy lifestyle. A lifestyle affecting even our youth, resulting in 10-year-olds with adult onset diabetes, or the ominous angiogram he saw at a recent medical conference of a patient with a widowmaker, a lesion named for its ability to cause instant death by blocking the blood flow to the heart, which is often seen in men in their 50s. The conference hall let out a collective gasp when it was revealed that this patient was a 17-year-old boy. It doesn't have to be this way, and it's never too late to start. But it's all up to you. With the system Dr. A is teaching, making these small daily choices is doable. They won't make much difference today, but by practicing them patiently, you can harness your most powerful ally, time. And if you do, you will get healthier. I promise. For your daily choices, are you going to take the green path that leads to optimal health or the red path that leads to sickness? Over time, your daily choices can and will support your goals, a healthy weight, an active lifestyle, or they'll lead you down a path to disease. It's up to you. So in a way, now you've learned a complete system to guide you in completing the life that you want, a life of optimal health. That's your fundamental choice. You've outlined your primary choices, the foundational components of health that serve as your goals. And you've begun to consider the day-to-day actions you need to reach those goals. And you've learned how important it is to look honestly at your current reality, using it as the basis for a structural tension chart for each of these foundational components. Your fundamental choice, optimal health. Your primary choices, the foundational components of health that serve as your goals. Your secondary choices are the day-to-day actions you need to take to get you there. Hopefully now you have a better understanding of where you want to go. But in order to get there, we need a more precise idea of your starting point. It's your GPS that directs your health. So our next step is putting you in charge of your own life's journey. So next week, chapter 5, where are you now? And thanks for letting me babble on and share this with you. I learn a lot. So even though none of you are on live with the call, that's okay. Hey, it's helping to get it solidified in my mind because you know what? I'm not going to go back to that 300-pound person that I used to be. And I want to keep living, being healthy and practicing these habits of health. And yeah, I'm listening to them talk about going to bed at 10 and feeling a little convicted and even, getting some exercising. Now I'm home. I don't tend to walk as much as I was when I was at the office and would walk my whole half hour. So you know what? I have a half an hour before I have a call tonight at 8. I'm going to go take a walk. I hope you will too. And please get in touch with me. Let me know how you're doing and how I can support you. And it's doable. Just make one healthy choice at a time. And it all adds up. And the pounds come off. Your body will feel better. And you'll never regret saying no to some of the things you said no to and saying yes to health. Take care. Appreciate y'all.